now tuned in. The most talked about podcast in the country. DT Unfiltered and Uncensored. Now here's your host, DT.
Oh Lord, it's up wrong. Hold on. Okay, hold on. What's going on?
No, that was
okay.
totally my freaking computer just unplugged. My apologies.
Okay, let me. It's not popping up. Okay, Ashley, I am so sorry. There we go. It's up now. All right, yo, this your boy DT. On the final statement with DT. I want to welcome everybody to my show. It's live, y'all. It's definitely live. It's not pre-recorded. I want to welcome everybody to a special edition of the final statement with DT. And what today is going to be about is about, and if my graphic don't pop up, there we go. Heart and mind. It's a conversation on love, life, and growth. And I reached out to two ladies that I know have a lot of knowledge. And I've been watching them on social media and hearing their stories and watching their watching their stories on their Instagram. And they know a lot about what's so true to me. Because a lot of stuff I love about talk about relationship. And somebody else joining in. Okay, no, it popped up. Somebody else. Hold on, where'd she go? She disappeared again. We're definitely live. Okay. And what I want to do, we're gonna talk about different topics today. We're gonna talk about self-love. Okay, here she goes. She's back. Okay, we're gonna talk about self-love. We're gonna talk about
my apologies, y'all. This is
no, you're good. We're gonna talk about navigating through toxic relationships. We're gonna talk about healing from heartbreak, which a lot of us can deal with, and we're gonna talk about communication one-on-one, which is very important, especially in the African American community. So, ladies, how are you all doing today before we get started? I didn't get a chance. How are y'all doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Ready to have some good conversation.
Yes, I'm doing amazing as well. Finally got my computer situated. So, yeah.
Okay. And ladies, introduce yourself. I didn't get a chance to do that. I'm sorry. I was thrown off. Miss Joy. First.
So I'm Joy Cook. I am a life and business strategist. I really specialize in just helping people in general work through some of the challenges and getting to the next level of their life. How do we up level in our lives of who we can become, how we can do better in life, in business, with our money, and in relationships.
Awesome. And Miss Lady?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tanya, and I am a massage therapist as well as a health educator. And I just help people rejuvenate their mind, bodies, and souls in the dopest manners and ways possible.
All right, ladies. Well, I'm glad to have you two on the show. I look forward to some thought-provoking and some engaging conversation. And we're going to start with our first topic, which is the power of self-love. And when you think of self-love, Miss Joy, what do you think of?
So, I probably have a different perspective and definition when it comes to self-love. I think in the world that we live in this society, we focus self-love on the things that we do, taking a bath or having a glass of wine or getting a massage and all those things. I think self-love is so much more different than that. I think self-love starts with your internal relationship with yourself. And oftentimes, if we look at the way that we relate with ourselves compared to how we relate with others, we realize that a lot of people, I muted myself. Yes. I realize that we walk around with a lot of people who are really living with a lack of self-love. They're like women, they'll go to the hang out with brunch with their girls, or go get their hair done, their nails done. They go to the spa and do all the things. But all those things are exterior things. When you talk about how do you love yourself, how do you honor your values, how do you position yourself to deal with yourself with grace and with love and with compassion, when we start looking at the relationship that we have with ourselves, I think that's where self-love's come from.
All right. And you, Miss Tandy, what do you think about self-love?
I totally agree with Miss Joy. I think that self-love, I know that self-love starts internally. A lot of people do think, oh, okay, I'm going to go have me a self-care day, blah, blah, blah. But self-love starts internally. And I just feel like if you don't have the ability to learn yourself or understand yourself internally or externally, there's no way you can express that on the outer layer of yourself. So yeah, that's how I feel about self-love.
You know,
Okay, later.
really cool.
Go ahead.
Really, I'm gonna say one more thing if I can about self-love.
Go ahead.
I think there is a disparity when we think about self-love, right? Oh, my light just went. I think there's a disparity when we think about self-love. When we come into the world, there's no self-love, right? When we come into the world,
Right.
think about the trajectory of how we grow up, right? We don't learn this idea of self-love. When you're babies, you're doing everything and somebody's caring for you. It's not about self, like somebody's caring for you. And then when you become a toddler and a kid, you're searching for the approval of your parents. You're not learning how to love yourself. You're searching how to love other people. So we go through this phase of life where we're searching the validation of others. Like our love is about loving outwardly instead of inwardly. And it's not until one day you just all of a sudden become an adult and somebody tells you you got to self-love. Well, we've never been taught self-love. And I think the disparity that comes in, if we're not taught how to create self-love, if we're not taught how to honor that in our relationships and ensure that we are taking care of ourselves instead of pouring that into everybody else, I think that there is some intentional behaviors and some intentional things that can be done to help develop that self-love. Just like you develop a relationship with a friend, a coworker, or a significant other, the same way you have to put that effort in and develop that relationship with yourself.
Okay, awesome. Well, later, I have nothing to add on to because y'all basically cover everything I would have said. So I concur with both of y'all. So my first question I'm gonna jump into is self-love can be difficult to prioritize with everything going on. How do we start the journey of truly loving ourselves even when life feels overwhelming? And Miss Tandy, I'll let you start off on this one.
Okay, how do we prioritize self-love, right? That's the question. Or how do we start our journey?
Yes.
In my opinion, I can only speak from my personal experience, how I started my journey of self-love. I started book reading. I started wanting to learn more about myself and who I am. That's how I started. I started meditating, and with that, with those spiritual practices, became a journey of self-love. So my book reading, understanding different areas of life that was taught from this person, from your mom or your mom's mom and generations. You're taught that, but do you really read into and try to figure out where to start that journey? So for me, I had to go through a few things before I started understanding the journey of self-love. So mine really started with hurt, right? And then I had to transition into, okay, I'm not finna get into another relationship because I don't understand myself at all. So I have to I just asked God for clarity. God, guide me. I got guided to the right books. And after I started book reading, those books really taught me how to control the power of my mind. And once you start controlling the power of your subconscious mind, you then begin to elevate and understand how to control those emotions and how to really reflect on yourself and not allow other people to reflect their mirrors on you, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how I got started on my journey of self-love. I think that everybody has their own ways of starting, but it has to start somewhere. So mine started with book reading, and then from book reading, it went for meditating, and from meditating, it just went to running and all that other stuff, and just really not worried about an outside bubble or outside effect of other people. And once you understand that you don't need other people to love yourself, that's where the journey begins. And it just keeps growing from there.
Okay.
So I think I'll chime in for the question.
Okay.
I think that the one thing I think that it can be difficult, right? Because again, as I just mentioned, this isn't something that just innately we just fall into. This is something that we have to learn. And I think prioritizing self-love comes from a process of unlearning all the things that don't sit right or align within your soul. And you have to be connected with yourself to understand where there's imbalance within me. Like, where don't I feel well? And what do those areas look like? I think a great practice of learning how to prioritize self-love comes from asking questions, exploring so much more about yourself, just going through a process of figuring out, what is it that I really want? What is it that's really important to me? What is it that lights me up? What are the triggers that take me away from my best self? What are those things, and who are those people that invigorate who I am? And going through a process to be very, very honest with self, right? Sometimes we are afraid to be honest with others, but we're also afraid to be honest with ourselves because we don't know if we're going to get the results that we want. But I think when you start asking questions and gaining clarity on who you want to be, and when you learn who you want to be, you begin to shift in the things that create self-love around us. And the question of how do you start? I think T, I'm going to call you T because I forgot. I forgot to say this. I'm going to call you T. She mentioned, like, reading and journaling. I think that one important thing is that we can only expand to the point that we're exposed, right? So if we don't expose ourselves to different things, we'll never expand. We'll stay stuck in this little bubble. And who we are as people is so full of so many different things. And our self-love comes from opening up that portal to really realize who we are and the potential and what we can have and how you can start that. And I think one part of this question is how to do that when it gets overwhelming, right? Life be life. Life be life, and life, all these things in life are going to happen. There's going to be things that's going to stand in the way, because if we all become our highest self, then there's no negative and positive that creates that currency. So I think learning how to step back, learning how to get back to the basics, right? What is it that I want? Who is it that I want to be? What I want to become? And what do I need to add or subtract out of my life in order to do that? And how do I prioritize my values, my morals, my things in my life compared to what everybody else's narrative about that is? So stop living life for other people and figure out what that looks like for you. I think that creates self-love.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, yeah. I got it. Yes. Have you ever been a time when, either one y'all can chime in on this, that you had to realize that you wasn't loving yourself as much as you should have, and you were loving someone else more than yourself? Have it been a time like that in your life? And can you give an example how you changed that dynamic in your life?
I think that's an everyday process, especially when we deal with other people in general, right? Especially if you have a spouse or significant other, or even your kids, right? Let's talk about, like, sometimes people lose their self-love for themselves when they have kids because they pour everything into your kids. But our parents are examples for us being adults. And if we don't see if we don't see the example of self-love from our parents, we grow up not knowing how to self-love ourselves, right? How to create them in ourselves. I think for me, I've had many different experiences and many different phases of life. We go through all these different phases of life where we have to plug in the battery pack to self-love. It's almost like the charge on your phone. If you don't charge it, then it can't be effective for a long time. And so I think realizing when we need to plug in our battery pack for self-love and put in time, ingest time within ourselves, and allow us to be priority versus making other people priority. I can talk about countless times, but countless times that I remember is when I've put kids ahead of myself, when I put a significant other ahead of myself, when I put my job ahead of myself, all those things ahead of myself, and then had that just misalignment when I wasn't at peace within myself. And I think that's going to continue to happen the longer that we live, because this is a never ending journey. We just learn at different levels that we get to what's needed on that particular level.
Miss Tandy?
I guess my question would be, this is maybe off, but what is the definition of self-love? What is it? What does self-love mean? When you're in relationships, whether if you're dealing with your children, whether if you're dealing with work issues, whether if you're dealing with a significant other, what is self-love? You know what I'm saying? Even being, for an example, when you're with your significant other, you want to people please so much you lose track of yourself, right? So you kind of you don't even think about self-love. And sometimes in those situations, that's how you go about gaining self-love, because you got to go through certain stuff you got to feel and go through certain stuff for you to really get down to the nitty-gritty of self-love. So I guess that's why I'm asking, what is the real definition of self-love? If I did lose myself in a partner or with my child or whatever, what's the definition? How do I know? You know what I'm saying?
So I think that we know I think self-love has to go on be self-defined. I think a lot of times we have to self-define what things mean for us, because love is one of those vast, huge, big things that there's no right or wrong answer to what that is. So when we talk about self-love, I think you have to define what that is for you based on where you are. But I think when your self-love tank is empty or getting depleted, you don't feel well inside. There's a misalignment, and when there's something off within yourself. And when there's something off within yourself, I think that's a signal of something about me I'm not loving enough. Something about me is not aligned. Something about my energy, something about my focus, something about my atmosphere, something about all the things, they're not syncing together, and I don't feel well. And sometimes we can't articulate sometimes when I don't feel well. When somebody asks you, how are you? Most people just respond, I'm good, I'm well. But the truth is, when I don't know, but something ain't something, right? Like something isn't aligning. I think when you have those moments when there's either more for you to do, there's something for you to get away from or detach from, or there's something that that you should be doing but you're not doing, or there's just something that's off. And when there's something off, I think that's a signal of saying I'm not pouring into myself enough in order to cultivate the self-love that's going to really help me be at peace in this thing called life.
Okay.
Wow. Go ahead.
I think other people become distractors. Like, it's almost like other people, especially when you're in a relationship, other people become the wall. It's like this wall, and your self-love is on the other side. And we feel like when we love other people, that some kind of way fills our self-love tank, but it doesn't if there's no reciprocity, right? If they don't understand also how to love us in the way that we need to be loved. I don't think self-love is just about us. Self-love is also having enough awareness and enough consciousness to know when you're loving somebody that's not a reciprocal type of situation, and then you feel depleted because you're giving all your love out and you're not getting anything back, and then you give so much to other people that you forget about yourself.
Right.
I want to jump to this next question because I think I would love to hear from y'all perspective on definitely this question for African American women specifically. What role does self-love play in pushing back against the stereotype of society expectation? Society expectation.
Do you want to go, T? Or do you want me to jump in?
I'm gonna just say this. I think that, in my opinion, I think that a lot of African American women, they don't know a lot about self-love, period. And I feel I
think I'm gonna agree with her.
I think that, and I feel like, a lot of them don't want to learn about self-love because everything else is too easy. It's easier for them to. Now, this is just my opinion, you know what I'm saying? And it may not just be with African American, but just because we're talking on the topic of African American, I feel like some people use the excuse. Right. And I feel like a lot of women weren't taught, and they haven't had the correct guidance on knowing how, or even finding a way for their starting point. That's the thing too. It's just like, you can wanna, but if you don't have no starting point or no basic essentials of it, I'm finna go do this because I ain't got time to even figure out how to self-love.
Yeah, I think in our culture, especially with African American women, there is this and I'm not saying that this doesn't happen across other cultures. I just feel like the amount of volume is just higher. We are more so driven to looks, hair weaves, makeup, getting body work done, trying to wearing designer labels and trying to be flashy and
That's their
all
form
of
of
these.
self-love.
No, that's a distraction to self-love. Like
But
that.
and I'm going to cut you off, Miss Joy, and that's probably what they feel is their self-love.
I don't think and I can't speak it, but from my perspective and my expertise in talking to many, many, many people, oftentimes we use all of these exterior things to fill this void and this hole, right? And I'm not saying that you can't do those things, but when you learn how to love yourself and you learn how to create peace within yourself and you learn what your purpose is here and you add value to the world, I think some of those things become less important. At the end of the day, we are all here for a short time.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's time to go, everybody 6 feet under is going to be the same size, right? It's going to be the same size. And we spend all this time trying to get the validation of other people without learning how to validate ourselves, learning how to love ourselves. And I think in our culture, music, entertainment, television, social media, it's all created at the demise of at the demise of Black people, right? Like, we're going to call a spade, things that are set up for the demise of Black people are not the same across the board from everybody else. Now, the other part is sometimes we are our own worst enemies, right? Like
Definitely.
sometimes we're our own worst enemies. And I think T made a good point is sometimes people don't know the starting point, but the answer to that is you start wherever you are, right? Like wherever you are, that's where you start. And I think that when you begin to get clear on that, you begin to break those social expectations or that stereotype that's around you, and you realize you begin to live life what works for you versus what works for mainstream.
I think that. Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you're good. You're good.
Back to the exterior point of wigs and makeup and lashes and body work and all that stuff. Me personally, I think that they think that they're gaining self-love when they have all that stuff on. I don't even know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. Like you make completely sense.
You
can put all that on, but when women take it off, they're angry, right? So they only love their self when they look like that. Just imagine, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of women can't stand the way they look when they look like this. Look at me. A woman most women would not even step outside looking like this. But in order for them to really gather themselves and love themselves, they have to be dolled up. They have to go outside, hair done, 30-minute makeup, lashes, nails done, all of that stuff. They can't. Women, in my opinion, and what I've noticed, women can't stand to see themselves in a natural presence, right?
I think that sometimes we look at the mirror of the reflection of the external, but so many people are blind to our internal being, right? We're so blind to when you look in the mirror and you look yourself in your eyes and you don't see or feel love. And I'm not talking about what you see. So oftentimes I do this exercise with some of my coaching clients is I have them go through this process of looking in the mirror, right? In the bathroom, by yourself, door closed, like in front of the mirror, just stare at yourself eyeball to eyeball. And if you stare at yourself eyeball to eyeball and say, I love you, I forgive you, that process of just taking that time, and you'll begin, like literally tears will begin to fall from your eyes because you realize, you know what? I failed you in loving you correctly. I've focused so much on all of this external stuff that the internal is broken into pieces. And how do we begin to mend that? And when you get that internal type of love and that internal type of peace and that internal type of acceptance, all of the outside begins to matter, become less important at the end of the day. So I think going through a process of really connecting with yourself, and I'm not saying connecting with yourself when you look in the mirror, what it looks like, but when you look yourself eyeball to eyeball, like how can you show up for you, and where are you not showing up for you? Where are those empty pieces on the inside? And it takes work for people to go through that process.
Yeah, I totally agree. Go ahead.
Let me ask a question real quick. Do y'all think, as y'all were talking about women dolled up, makeup, lashes, wigs, everything, do you think that come from society, how they look at social media now?
Absolutely. But I think the same thing for men. I think men go through the same process where they don't self-love, and they don't self-love, and how men distract from their own self-love is by thinking that they got to go out and make all the money, thinking they can go out and get all the women, thinking that their sex or their magic piece can give them self-love and give them validation. When at the end of the day, men are just as broken as these women out here that are doing all the other thing. And if we don't do the work for self-love on both sides as a community, we fail each other. Man, if you're not loving yourself properly and creating space for yourself and creating a healthy environment, and women are not doing the same thing, we are being a deterioration to our communities, to our children, to our future generations. We have to learn how to self-love, and the better you can self-love, the better you love other people. But social media is a deterrent to all of it.
I think that social media is definitely, and I think that a lot of people in general, they don't know how to lead on their own. They don't know how to be their own self. They don't know nothing about their own dopeness, because they want to be like the music that they listen to or the women that they see on social media or in the videos and all that stuff. I don't think, me personally, I don't think that men have it as bad as women do. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that I feel like men don't, just externally, right? Men don't have to do all that, right?
Yeah, I would agree. Internally more. Yeah.
Internally more. And even with women, a woman can strip all that stuff off and she still be toe up. And self-love isn't necessarily to do with the outside, and it doesn't have to necessarily do with the inside. It's the whole being. It's what are you eating? It's what are you listening to? You know what I'm saying? It's what are you watching? It's all of that stuff, because everything in the universe has something to do with your lifestyle and how you live in it, and it reflects. So if you are watching this or you're watching that or whatever, that's gonna eat you up in the inside. You know what I'm saying? If I'm scrolling, if I feel secure in myself and I'm scrolling and this is, in my opinion, a part of self-love, and I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh, she got that, or oh, she got that. That's tearing me up even more, because it's a comparison.
Yeah, so comparison is a thief of joy.
Go ahead, my bad.
I'm saying comparison is a thief of joy. Comparison takes away all of the things that we are connecting to. It disrupts us.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that the self-love journey is a lot of work, and I feel like there's not a specific starting point. And I feel like a lot of people can't do it on their own. And I feel like there's a lot of teachers that are coaches out there that can guide you to the ropes. They can't show you, they can't make you do it. They can guide you in certain ways, but some people do not connect with people of understanding on how to start self-love. You could take off the makeup, you can even wear all that shit while you're working on your self-love, right? Because it's internally, right? I go full face makeup and go running and meditate and learn how to breathe and just be by myself. I don't wear makeup, but just be by myself. Just starting practices like that will start your journey of, in my opinion, self-love, and not worrying about what the next motherfucker doing. That's the issue. People, excuse my language. Can I curse? I don't mean to curse, my bad. But I feel like a lot of people's journey has a lot to do with the lack of self-love. A lot of people's upbringing has a lot to do with the lack of self-love. And I just think that the external the external is the most terrible part, because it shows how much people lack in self-love, in my opinion. You can have all the money in the world.
So we go self-love. We definitely dive into that quite a bit, and everything y'all said, I definitely agree with 100%, because that's a big struggle with a lot of people, self-love. And I think self-love kind of ties into the next segment, which is mental health check-in, because I think a lot of people don't realize how important this is in life, and people take it as a joke. And it wasn't as such a stigma back early, before a lot of this generation time. It wasn't, we didn't talk about mental health. It wasn't a conversation, because everybody looked at it like, oh, toughen up. That's what it was. Oh, you'll be okay. But now it has become, because of social media, to me, social media has really, to me, made mental health worse. And I don't know if y'all agree with on that. Social watching like a social media, because you watch people, you see a lot of things, you see a lot of like famous people, what they got, and it kind of gets you mentally, it can break you down, because you're not in that position and you're not making that, or you don't have that job, and you dealing with a lot, and you figuring out what's wrong with your life, and why I'm not there, why I'm not rich, why I'm not this famous rapper, why I'm not this famous actor, why I'm not running this corporation, why I'm here working at McDonald's, why I'm here working at Walmart. And you start beating yourself up, and mentally it get to you. And see, back the reason why I say I think social media really affected, because before in the day we didn't have that, so you wasn't seeing what Michael or Janae or Sarah or Paul doing on social media. Now you see it all the time. And I think that has a lot to do with mental health. I don't know if y'all agree or not, but I feel like it.
I think it's a mix. I think that there are pros and cons to everything that we face, but I think that social media has created a bigger awareness, so people can be aware of mental health and our mental wellness, right? Before we had social media, we had all these things. We weren't talking about our mental health. We weren't talking about our stress levels. Everything was just okay. We were just being so strong and just dealing with it. I think opening up the space for it created awareness for it. But I think that on the other part, I think that you hit some valid points where it begins to distract us and it adds more stress. But, social media is a response to what you engage in, right? So on your social media feeds, whether that be Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, it feeds you what you're looking at, right? So if you look at X, Y, and Z, you're just going to get more of it. And so if you begin to switch what you're engaging with, the algorithm will begin to switch what it shares with you. So if you look at things about books and reading and growth and how to get your money right and how to get your life right and healthy relationships and all those things, more of those things will pop up. But if you're looking at who's fighting in the airport, what celebrity gossip is going on, what all these things are happening, it's just going to feed into you, and it's going to feed into you, and it's going to take up all the space for the opportunity for you to have, for you to work on good mental health.
Ms. Tandy?
I agree with you. I think that social media has a lot to do with people's mental health, and I feel like, and I only say that, just like I said, I only speak from experience. You got to log off. You got to log off to find yourself. I don't care what nobody say. You got to log off to find yourself, to find to find clarity, to find your mental health. And I just think, I know that mental health is important. I'm a soldier. I didn't talk about mental health. So I don't want to go into a lot of details because the questions is finna get popping, but I don't totally agree with you when it comes to both of you all, when it comes to social media and when it comes to all that. Mental health has a lot to do with that, because people don't know how to log off. Hell, they don't even know folks don't even know what mental health is for real.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? They don't. Oh, I don't have any issues. Denial is a big problem in the mental health world, right?
But I I think it comes to this question that we have that, that's coming up. If you don't mind me reading it and saying,
Go ahead.
Girl.
So this question kind of piggybacks or opens up the doorway for the conversation that you were just starting. Is within the African American community, there is sometimes stigma around mental health. And how do you think we can begin breaking down those barriers and seeking help? I think the one thing that we just talked about is before all of this social media and all this awareness in our families and in our communities, things were, shh, that's a family secret. Shh, we don't talk about that. Shh, stay in a child's place. Stay out of grown folks' business. Like, you know what I mean? Like being the strong one, right? Like dealing with all of these things. And we weren't dealing with it in a way. So when we look at generationally and how we operate as humans, we operate voluntarily and involuntarily based on the environment and the things that we saw. So if you saw your mom or your dad or your grandma, whoever, being the strong one and not talking about things, a lot of times what was happening is that mental health was being suppressed by, I have to be the strong one, I have to overcome, I have to get through this. And the thing is that with the day and age that we live in now, where there's so much awareness and so many resources and so many things when it comes to mental health, I think it opens up the opportunity to say, when you're not all right, it's okay not to be all right. You don't have to have judgment or self-judgment or feel a certain way if things aren't going the way that you want. It's okay not to be all right. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to create a space where you're figuring out. It's okay not to know the answers. Now, what are you going to do with it when you begin to get to a place of acceptance that this is what it is? How do I navigate from this spot? And I think mental health is understanding your stress triggers, right? Understanding what triggers you from a stress level, understanding things that are toxic or damaging to you as an individual, your environment, your kids, unlearning the things that you grew up thinking was the way and realizing that there's so many other ways. So I think that breaking the stigma of thinking that mental health is because something's wrong with you or you're crazy or something's going on. I believe that everyone can benefit from therapy. Like everyone can benefit. And therapy is a process of talking with someone. And it really, let me just make a distinction. There's a difference between therapy and coaching, right? And those people who are educated, those people who have put in the work and put in the time, understand that there's a difference. Now, when we talk about...
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah.
Not saying like that. And I didn't even let you finish. I apologize. I'm like, I disagree. I just don't. Go ahead. My bad, babe.
So let me just say that there's a difference. And the difference... Okay. So the difference is therapy really, really is about digging into the past to figure out what happened, what went on, getting some clarity about the pieces that's on the table, like understanding what pieces are on the table, understanding where they come from and how to put the pieces all back, put them all back on the down. Therapy is really about all the pieces of the puzzle are on the floor. How do we take the pieces of the puzzle and we put it on the table and figure out all the pieces that we have? Coaching is about how do we move forward? It's about forward progression. How do we create the pathway for you to create the best life that you can create going forward? Now, we need some of those pieces that we picked up off the floor. We need some of those pieces to the puzzle. But as a coach, it's not our job to dig back and diagnose you with trauma or this or that. It's really just creating an understanding of the pieces that's on the table, where they fall in place, and the pathway that you want to create, almost like creating your yellow brick road, right, to going forward. And I think sometimes in my experience, what I have seen is people who delve into the coaching realm, and maybe because that they've experienced something and they feel like their experience can help somebody in another way, that can be great. But coaching has an industry. Coaching has values. They have principles that you follow. They have a certain kind of way that you follow, not just helping somebody. Now, helping somebody with your story is great, but I think that we have to distinguish, like, we're not if you're not a therapist, then you're not a therapist, right? If you don't understand the impacts of our brain and our social makeups and maybe some of the things and some of the diagnosis that comes, I think that we have to just tread that thread a little bit lightly. Go on, T. Where did you disagree?
No, I should have let you finish, because matter of fact, let me run that back, because I definitely, I agree with you when it comes to the differences, right? And I just feel like when it comes to therapists, I don't fuck with therapists. And the reason why I don't is because what I'm going backwards for, that's the issue. That's the issue. If I'm struggling, why would I want to go relive the past? Right? Because there's nothing you could do about the past. There ain't nothing you can do about the past. And on top of that, I feel like you have to be relatable. I feel like therapists are not relatable. I feel like a lot of professional people are not relatable to people in the real world. And they don't want to come off their high horse to really understand what these folks is really going through. You get what I'm saying? So you can have a title. Oh, my bad, baby. My bad.
No, I'm saying I think you're making a great point. And I think that all therapists are not created equal. But I also think that therapy is a partnership, is a two-way street. Yeah. People who've been in therapy for 5 years, 10 years, and your life hasn't changed, you need to find a new therapist.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Like if you're in therapy, you should be having change. And it doesn't mean you have to go back and relive the past, but you have to understand the pieces on your puzzle, right? You can't have certain pieces of your puzzle that don't fit. You have to realize and have the awareness, oh, you know what, this piece doesn't belong to this puzzle. That goes to another part. But if you never kind of understand what pieces are there, it's hard for you to put those pieces together so you can move forward sometimes. But I do agree that all therapists are not created equal. All coaches are not created equal. All accountants and all doctors and nobody's created equal. You have to find people, like you said, who are relatable, people who have more interest in you than they do in their own personal gain, right? And people who really want to see people change and really want to see people do better. So I agree with that part.
I just think that a lot of I just think that when it comes to therapy and therapists,
they're different.
It's different. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm talking about a therapist, I feel like, in my opinion, there's 97.9998% of therapists are just educated people that are reading from books of what people have written, right? And what they needed to do to get a degree to be in that field, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Those are your therapists. And I feel like when it comes to therapists, they really don't teach therapy, right? They go back and dig up your past. And once you leave that office, you're stuck in depression and you don't know how to get yourself up because you don't relive that past. And the moving forward is little pieces at a time. For every single motherfucking session, I got to go sit with you and re-talk about everything that I just talked about last week. And it took me 7 days to even get up out of this depression because I had to relive everything just to explain to you, stranger, for you to talk to me in a sophisticated manner on how to figure it out. And I've been trying to figure it out for this many years. I don't need to know your business. You're hurting? Okay, let's figure out how we can create a happy place for you. I don't need to know that. I mean, it'll be good for me to know these things, but if you're going through this, how can I create a safe space for you? How can I create emotional well-being for you? Not your uncle raped you at the age of 7, and how was that traumatic to you? Give me detail. That's what people go through in therapy, and not those specific, that specific situation. That's just hella random, but that's what people go through. Right? And then your next session, you're paying $250 for the same conversation. And then the next session, you're paying $350 for the next one just to be put on medication to put you even in a deeper depression. And I can't.
You know what?
It is because really you probably ain't even went through none of this, right?
I want to chime in on this. I agree with y'all on both points because I hear a lot of people, especially in our community, that therapy is a waste of money. Because that's a stigma, like, oh, we don't do therapy. That's white people stuff. That's the number one thing I hear is white people stuff. But I also have seen people who went through therapy that helped them in their life, then got to a better place. So I see both sides to it. And if I want to speak to a therapist, I want a therapist that actually kind of went through what I went through in my situation. I don't want to deal with someone who never experienced living in poverty. I never lived in the hood, but never lived in that, never was broke. I don't want to deal with them. I want to deal with the ones who came from money, been around money their whole life. Parents was well off, had college degrees. They got college. They never dealt with a struggle. They can't help me. They probably could tell me things, but they can't help me get through my struggle.
Right.
And I can understand it, because you got some therapists that have struggled their way to go through school. They live in a one-parent household. I never dealt with that, but lived in a one-parent household, lived in the hood, and they made it out. And now they're therapists because when they get a client who's dealt with situations like that, they can actually help them because they've been through that.
Well,
but they can't help no. Go ahead.
I think that's important. I think something that's important is that, like, you don't know that, right? You don't know a person's story when you're looking through a list of therapists that you can go see, right?
But can't you look at their back? I know some of you can look at their background. You can find out their history a little bit. Don't someone put them out there?
You're not going to find that. So here's one thing that I do recommend a lot is, if you're seeking out a therapist, before you engage with the therapist, have a consultation with that therapist. I think before you engage with anybody, you should have a consultation to ensure that there's alignment, right? And I think having the alignment where somebody can understand you, where you can ask the questions of somebody that works for you, and then moving forward with those engagements. Where I think that the difference that kind of comes in is that there's so many different variables that fall in place. I happen to think that sometimes people who may not have been in took your particular walk can still provide you value and help you, though, right? And I think that really kind of breaking down, I tell people all the time, coaching is what I do. It's not just what I do. This is who I am, right? This is not just what I decided. I spent lots of money, lots of education, lots of time, lots of reading, lots of studying, and all of this to aid into me becoming a great coach. But it's not just what I do. This is a calling for me, right? There's an alignment. Every time the path goes, it brings me right back to this place. And I think our stories do help other people. Our experiences do help other people, but understanding every person isn't meant to help every person, right? You just have to find those people that are no different than dating. When you date somebody, you might find their profile on the online dating app. They might put something about their background on it, but you don't know that person. You don't know that experience. You don't know that alignment until you begin to have conversations, until you begin to invest time, until people are able to open up. And I think it's the same way when we're looking for therapists, when we're looking for doctors, when we're looking for jobs, even when we talk about looking for jobs. When you go interview for a job, you're not putting yourself on sale to get that job. That's a two-way street. They're working for you and you're working for them. You want to make sure that they fit what works for you, not just you fitting what works for them. So we have to begin to change our paradigm of how we look at things, that it's only a one-way street. No, this has to work for both of us. And I think taking those steps in order to explore options of how do I figure this out ahead of time? What questions do I ask? How do I engage a little bit different? How do I approach this from a perspective that's going to work towards getting me the results that I want? And if it doesn't get you,
I don't even think those questions.
Yeah, they don't, because we're not really exposed to it.
Right?
And I agree with you. I think the question, you got to ask those questions. You have to ask those questions. You got to have a list of questions so you can figure out if it's the right person for you or not.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because I'm gonna tell you this, with coaching, I coached basketball for 13 years. I don't have parents come to my practice before they kid join my team to watch my practice. They would sit there and watch a whole practice. And I'm gonna tell you a promise up real quick. I had Dominique Wilkins. I coached his son, Jake. He came to my practice. First of all, I had to go through an interview with him over the phone. I had to talk to him for 30 minutes, I was caught off. It was sitting there talking to Dominique Wilkins on the phone was amazing. Then he had to come to my practice and watch my practice. He stood over there the whole time in the corner, which made me paranoid because I'm sitting here with an NBA legend watching my practice, and he watched the whole all 130 minutes. And then I came over to him and said, "What you think?" He said, "I love your practice. He could play for you." I had to go through. He had to watch.
I think that should happen with any kid in sports, right? If you have kids and you have them in sports, I think that should take place. Parents and people, we should stop just throwing our kids and having these circumstances that we just put ourselves into. I think that you should have a talk with the coaches that's going to be coaching. I think you should watch the practice. I think you should watch the game. I think you should engage in this before you just decide, I'm going to put my kid in this class. I'm going to put my kid with this coach. Have you done your due diligence? And I think sometimes we just don't do enough of the legwork that's going to help us create more positive results in our lives. And then when we get the response that doesn't really work or align, we're in a frenzy, right? Well, if you at least put the effort in ahead of time, the results of that would be less abrasive because you've at least done the work and you've made a decision based on some facts and based on some things that create some more alignment for you.
Miss Tandy?
Why you say me like I got something to say? No.
I was looking at your facial expression.
No, I just, my views on a lot of things are different. You get what I'm saying? But I definitely feel it. I just think that a lot of people are fake. I don't care how many. I don't care. You can sit in a consultation with somebody and they could lie their ass out because they want to be so. You know what I mean? Like that's just my thing. I feel like we're living in an unrealistic world when it comes to therapists and when it comes to professional people because they have to uphold a standard. And that's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how, like I said, I speak from experience. You get what I'm saying? So it's just a lot. I've been to therapy. I've dealt with therapists, and that's why I operate how I do now. And that's why I do advocate for people that, that vibe like me, like, hell nah. You know what I mean? Because in reality, that people are fake. People are fake and they're not going to take off that mask. They'll take that mask off for 5 minutes while having a conversation with you for a little bit, but they're going to put it right back on.
So I got a question for you.
That's my opinion.
I got a question for you, Tandeezy.
Yes.
So when you are saying this, like if you believe that, how do you ever make room for something different than that? Right? If you're stuck on that's your belief and you believe that people are fake and you believe that they put on this mask and they don't do this, how do you ever open up the opportunity for someone who might be real? How do you
go ahead?
How do you create the space for a narrative that's different than this belief that you've attached from just because it was your experience in the past?
Because everybody, you got to help your own self. You got to help your own self. There can people, like I said, there can be people that guide you and all that stuff. And now everybody's not fake, but it's really rare you come across somebody, a therapist or somebody like that, that's really gonna be open and be transparent with you and keep it solid with you and take away the professional words and take away all that professionalism and really just be on some real stuff. It's very rare that you come across that. It's very rare.
I believe that we get what we create. Right. So if you believe that is rare, then
that's just
I'm saying, but we're talking like what I'm talking about now is just a belief system, right? Yeah. Our belief system. If we believe that it's fake, if we believe that it's rare, if we believe that there are limits, then that's exactly what you're going to get the results of. Everything that you say, that when you look at your life is going to prove you right based on your belief. I have a crazy belief that all things work for my good. I have a crazy belief that I find amazing people. I have a crazy belief that I come in contact with good energy people because I'm a good energy person. I have a crazy belief that the world has so many great people in the world. We just have to find the alignment for it. I have a crazy belief that all those people that don't allow me, they're not going to come in my path. And I think that when you begin to open up a space for a different narrative of, yes, there may be people that are fake. There may be that, but they're not going to come to you if you're operating in your own.
They need help though. Those are the people that need help. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm very spiritual. I believe I manifest. I believe in the power of the subconscious mind. I believe you are what you attract. I believe everything that you're saying. I'm not talking about myself. I'm just speaking in general for the regular person. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. I totally understand. But I think for the regular people, we have to start giving them another narrative.
They don't know how.
They know how by your example. They know how by my example. They know how by DT's example. They know how by these little injections of these conversations and these energy that we give out. When we begin to operate in our own calling and our own being, it's little deposits, and then at some point it comes full circle, and their cups get full, and they get the expansion and they get the connection to those things that begin to change their life little by little.
I totally agree, and that's why we're not. That's why we are who we are, right? And we're not those professional therapists that you can't approach, or we're not. That's what we're not. We're healers at the end of the day. All three of us.
Yeah.
Because our outcome, we all want the outcome for every single body. For everybody to be dope, to learn how to learn the different. There's different dope ways of therapy. If I could say that 50 million thousand times, there's different dope ways of therapy. It's not just one way. So going to a therapist and talking to them may not be my way. It may be somebody else's way. And I'm not knocking the therapist, but from my experience, I feel like a lot of therapists, a lot of them are wealthy people that went to school and haven't had any experience in life. Right. And that can use some words to make you feel better for the moment. But in real life, it's just like, okay, where do I go from here? Rather than a natural person really, really hollering at you and really helping you with everything that you need, everything that you need to be helped with as far as mental clarity. Running can be a form of meditation. Listening to AJ McQueen or Lon Drill can be a form of meditation or therapy to help you switch your mind. Because sometimes it's not just talking to you. What am I doing when I get home? Right?
Plug. I love AJ McQueen. He's dope.
Absolutely. And for me, that's my therapy. Listening to that is my therapy. For me personally, I'm just talking about selfishly me, because trust me, I think therapists, all that stuff, you need it. But I feel like when it comes to the African American community, it has to be relatable. When it comes to people in poverty and people who don't got it, or people who don't got understanding, or whose minds aren't completely there, we gotta stoop to their level to understand. I don't even need you to explain nothing to me, because I see it, right? When you get to that frequency where you're like, okay, I see it. I feel your energy. That's okay. I'm still going to give you a hug. Some people just need a hug. And some people don't want to talk. Some people just, let me send you this music right quick. I don't know what you're going through, but guess what? I'm finna bless you. Let me send you this music. Come sit in the sun with me.
You know something you said? I think that therapy is less about the therapist, right? Therapy is about being willing to have open for change and transformation, right? Yeah, and I think that the same thing that you're saying is like, therapy is, am I open for change and transformation? And when I'm open for change and transformation, that can come from so many different ways. Absolutely. For me to change and transform, that's going to be the best choice and the better thing for me as an individual. And I think each person, if they just come to the point of, do you want to go to therapy? Open up the portal for your own change and your own transformation, and all the things that need to be aligned, and that all the resources that you need, they'll come to you. You'll find those people that's for you when you're open.
That's where we come in, because we can teach them how to become aligned. We can teach them what the fuck alignment means. We can teach them energy. We can't give it to you, right? But we can teach you. We can guide you.
We can give it.
I mean, we can give off energy, but people got to have their own energy. We're electric. You know what I'm saying? I can give you dope energy all day, right? I can't give you dope energy, but my dope energy, you can feel it to where you'll be like, wow, you're hella dope. Wow. Trust me, being like that, because I don't even be like, I'm not trying to be like that. Being like that, I am really, you can feel my energy from a mile away. Smiling at a person will change somebody's whole life around. Those simple gestures right there. And that's why I say, matter of fact, let me run it back. It's not like you said, it's not about the therapist, but I feel like in the melanated community, that's all they know, and that's all they think, that's all they taught. You need to go to a therapist, you need to speak to somebody, you need to be on medication, you need this, you need that, but that's not what it is. in my opinion.
It's just an open portal for the change and transformation you want to have in your own life.
Absolutely. And people want it. People want it. They just don't. Sometimes people just don't know who to address about it because, like I said, if I'm conservative, right? If I'm a conservative person and we're gonna use a sexy red, she not finna come holler at you. Sexy red, and
Not
I'm just
sexy red.
I ain't
Not
talking
sexy
mess
red.
to sexy red. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to use the vibrant personality of those type of human beings that operate in a certain manner like that. They're not gonna come to somebody conservative to try to figure it out. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes sense.
That was a terrible example, not sexy red. But
Yeah, that because sexy red.
I think that's
sexy red.
It's just the pendulum, right? So a conservative, like the pendulum is just so wide when you look at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand what you were saying. Yeah.
Or even somebody conservative ain't finna come to no person that talk that, you feel me, that is like this. They're not gonna feel comfortable opening up to a person like this. So it's checks and balances when it comes to mental health, and everybody wants. Well, a lot of educators just want for people to be balanced and to have a safe space to come to. And it's dope that we can provide that. And I feel like in the African American community, it's not a lot of people. It's not a lot of intentional people that provide that.
So let's move on to the next subject. Y'all gave a lot of information that one. I don't have nothing to add on. Y'all don't see it at all. But this one, I think we did probably our last segment because I don't think we'll get to the other two. But this is a great one because navigating through toxic relationships, I think we all been down this path. Toxic relationship, whether it was romantic or friendship, and you see it every day. You see a lot of toxic relationship. It's whether it's on social media, your friends, your personal self, and I think a lot of people don't realize that they're in a toxic relationship because they're blinded. And they're blinded by they think it's love, by sex, by money. What are y'all definition of a toxic relationship? Then we'll jump into the first question.
Go ahead, Ms. Joy, because I do not know. I ain't gonna lie.
So I believe that a toxic relationship is anything that does not edify the best of you, of who you are. And so when we think about relationship, everything is relational. Relationship is any two things that come together, right? That work together. And I think that anything that doesn't edify the best of who you are in every aspect of your life can have some components of having some toxicity in it. So I believe that if you're in anything that is not serving the best of you, the higher of yourself, what is the most serves you the best, then I think that can fall into a toxic relationship. So
go ahead. Ms. Sandy, you got anything to add on?
Okay.
I'm only saying no
because I really can't. Honestly, I can't. I don't know. I don't know what toxic. I don't know. Red is red.
You never been in a toxic relationship?
I think that I have. No, honestly, I don't think I have been in a toxic relationship because I don't allow myself to be around that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, if you say that, I feel like I'm sad and he's not showing me whatever affection or whatever. I don't think that's toxic. You know what I mean?
That's not toxic.
I feel like social media tells people what toxic relationships are. So I honestly don't know. I think that toxic relationships really became a subject since social media became popping. You know what I'm saying? So I'm about to learn from y'all two about toxic relationships because I don't know. I don't know.
Toxic relationship been around forever.
It has. And
abuse is toxic, right?
Yeah, I think anything that's detrimental to your mental health, to your physical health, to your emotional health, like anything that's detrimental in those places. But I think that this ties back to our first topic, right? When we talk about self-love, where there is a lack of self-love, there is an open door for toxicity to come in because we try to fill that with any anything possible. And sometimes those things that we try to fill it with is like we're drinking poison, wanting to be well, right? And it's and the poison, and sometimes it's like a lot of, and I'm just using this as an example because it's popped in my head. A lot of people will have sex thinking that it'll cure their loneliness, right?
Right.
That is a good topic.
That's
Write
toxic.
that down, DT.
That's allowing toxicity, right? So you are trying to cure this thing with something like, it's almost like taking Pepto-Bismol for a broken knee. The Pepto-Bismol is never going to heal the broken knee, but yet you keep drinking the Pepto-Bismol thinking that your knee gonna be better. Like, it doesn't help you, as a detriment to you. And then the side effects of taking Pepto-Bismol all the time is gonna have something else go wrong within your body.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
I think something in the toxic relationship is getting out of a relationship and immediately getting back into a relationship. I think that's very toxic. I think that's terribly toxic. It don't even gotta be the other person, but I personally think that is just toxic as a mother lover, because you ain't even give yourself time. And I see that constantly, whether if it's man or woman. Like, you just jump into like, damn, didn't you just stop messing with? How in the hell did you get time to heal?
Because that's come back to self-love.
Yeah, and then I think that's understanding like the difference between soothing a wound versus doing the things that's going to actually cure the wound, right? So a lot of people think, I remember this guy I used to work with years ago. He used to tell me all the time, and he was jokingly, but I think he was serious as well. He used to be like, the best way to get over one is to get under another one, right? Like, but that's just putting a Band-Aid on the thing that's wrong. And I think that you do a disjustice and you create an avenue for toxic relationships when you jump out of one and you jump into the other without understanding what went wrong. Why did it go wrong? Where are the parts that I didn't show up in a relationship all right? Where are the parts where I could have been different? Where are the parts where I didn't value, or I didn't create a standard for my boundaries, and I didn't express my values, and I didn't walk away when things were uncertain, when things were working against me? How do I create the situation? And now I can tell you the truth. I've been in some toxic relationships, but the toxic relationships were because of me. My self-love was empty, right? And I was looking for this external relationship, because remember when I talked about earlier, a lot of things that we do from a child are for the validation of other people. We want to do well in school for the validation of our parents. We want to do well at this for the validation so we can get stars and good lucks and awards at school. The system systematically, it sets us up to be people pleasing. It sets us up to seek for the validation of other people. But you then have to find a way, when you become an adult, you just have to realize, you know what, I got to figure out what this is for me, right? And when you begin to love yourself, and I'm not saying that you ever get over it, because every experience that you have with a different person creates a whole new window of where you thought you were healed, where you thought things were great. The moment that you get into a relationship, it becomes a mirror of the things that you get the opportunity to work on. Like, so I think sometimes we look at some relationships as toxic, but you have to figure out, are you the one with the poison, right? And I'm gonna say, with the poison.
I'm gonna say this. People may disagree with it. I think actually being in a toxic relationship and getting out of it makes you stronger, because you know the signs.
Say that one more time.
You know the sign. Being in a toxic relationship and getting out of it makes you stronger as a person, because you know some of these signs when you get into the next one, you grow from it.
It's either gonna make you strong, it's either gonna make you stronger, or it's gonna make you insane, because you're gonna do this. A lot of people just repeat the same
and that's
thing.
Cycles. That's generational curses. Those are cycles, and until you learn how to break it, you're gonna go through it with the next nigga or female, next man or next one.
And see, I've been in toxic relationships, so I know the signs. I know not to be in one. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm in a toxic relationship right now at work with my boss. That's a toxic relationship. Like, if you see me and my boss dynamic, it's not good. Even one of my coworkers she just left for another job, she even told me, I can't believe y'all still work together. How y'all get along? But I think I'm gonna tell everybody, it's a lot to do with comfort. I'm comfort because I get my way at work. I get what I want. I get if I need to take time off, I get it off. If I need this, I get it off. I need to leave early, no issues. It's there. It's a comfort. Go ahead.
DT, let me stop real quick. That was a great point you made. Sometimes we're in these relationships and they become a comfort, and the comfort becomes a distraction, and it keeps us into these relationships because it's comfortable to have somebody to lay next to in bed. It's comfortable to have companionship. It's comfortable to have somebody to share bills with. It's comfortable to be in this place where you have somebody, you're not alone. It's comfortable not to face your own self and your own brokenness and your own parts of you that you haven't healed. And we get into these relationships and we get into these places where the toxicity begins to get in because the comfortability becomes a distraction to what can be healthy to us.
Ooh,
Right.
we.
And you spoke the truth. And a lot of us are in toxic relationships at work. They don't realize that. But you in that situation, it don't have to be romantic. And a lot of people think toxic relationship is just a romance and a relationship with boyfriend and girlfriend, girlfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend and boyfriend. It's not. It's work. It's family. It's friendship. Toxic relationship comes in all forms, and people don't realize that until they know.
Yeah. But I think the good point that you made in all of those scenarios and all of the things and situations, and I think especially in friendships, right? I think sometimes toxicity comes from friendships because we get loyalty mixed up. We get loyalty mixed up with time, right? We think because we've been friends with someone for 15 years or 20 years that friendship we're loyal because we've been this so long. But are you really loyal to a friendship that's not beneficial to you? Is you really loyal to a friendship that drains you? Are you really loyal to somebody who's backstabbing? Are you really loyal to this person that is not the best for you and you're not the best for them? But yet, since you've been friends for 15 years, you stay in that space. Sometimes we have to really check what loyalty really means, right? Loyalty is not time. Right? You can meet me last week and I can be loyal to you more than somebody who you've been friends with for 10 years. It has nothing to do with time, but in all of these different dynamics or relationships, when we talk about work, when we talk about romantic relationship, friends and family, we have to begin to explore and have awareness of things that we consider toxic for us. And I think something that happens that many people are not willing to explore. Where are you the problem? Where are you adding to it? When you talk about your work situation and the contention that you and your boss have, how can you show up different, right? Where do you take responsibility and accountability of, you know what, I'm feeding the toxicity. I'm pulling oil on this fire. Like, I'm not making it better. Like, and sometimes we can get discouraged, and it can take a lot from us when we feel like we put our best foot forward, but yet somebody still gave us their ass to kiss, right? And we get discouraged, and then all we do is we allow the toxicity to build and to build. But we also have to take personal responsibility and personal accountability when it comes to toxic relationships. It's always a two-way street. Your toxic trait can be continuing being there, right? Your toxic trait can be not being able to walk away. Your toxic trait can be giving that other person ammunition. When they yell at you, you yell at them. You toxic too. When they try to fight you, you fight them back. You toxic too. When they do something backhanded, you do it back to them. You toxic too. Right? So we got to stop pointing the finger at other people. And we got to look at the other four that's pointing back at us.
Booyah. And all that ties into mental health.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. And I'm agree with you. I do that. Part of it, I am toxic some of that work, but I think he brings the toxicity out of me with certain things he do.
Stop it. I'm gonna stop you right now. Stop it. Nobody brings nothing. Nobody brings nothing out of you, DT. You are allowing yourself to step down to somebody's level who you have grown beyond. If when you have grown beyond a point, there's nothing that somebody on your level can do to bring out anything in you. You allowed it. That's your ego. That's your ego got in the way. He didn't bring that out of you. You allowed your ego to open up the door and take the driver's seat. No, take responsibility and accountability for that part.
You allowed your mind to not stay in control. You allowed all that to F up your emotions and did not stop before you thought about the situation that was at hand. That's
And
all.
and it's not that bad, right?
Ain't that bad.
You know, what's that? Is an R. Kelly song? Like when a woman's fed up. I think that song.
Yeah.
Yes.
My favorite. That's one of my favorite.
Oh
top
my
three
gosh,
hits
he's
of all
toxic.
time.
Listen to him. He liked it. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not that bad.
I'm just
DT.
joking.
It's not that bad, and you don't really want to change it. I think you actually like it.
Yeah.
No. It's a reason behind it. It's
Comfortability.
not that comfortability, and I get my way.
Toxic.
Toxic.
Toxic
and
with the
also-
capital T.
Also, it's a stepping stone for me to my next level, so I can do what I need to do
As
with the
long as
media
you're-
thing.
As long as you're moving towards your next level, but as long as you're also being honest with yourself about the situation too,
Yeah.
right? I think
Man, for sure.
sometimes we have to be honest about the situations that we find ourselves in, right? And be really true. You know what? That was my ego. You know what? I was toxic. You know what? I didn't show up to that correctly. I didn't give my best self to that. Like,
And that is so much growth when you can get to that point.
it's maturity when you can
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna give y'all a real quick background on why it got the way it got.
You don't need to hear
It's
it.
because hold on, so I'm gonna tell you.
It sound like excuses.
No. I'm gonna explain it to you. You're not letting me explain.
You
Let me
justify.
explain.
Go ahead, justify.
I'm gonna definitely justify because it was a employee that worked with us
Mhm.
that he was going behind my back trying to get rid of me, and the reason why we found out is because when she quit, me and my other employees searched her email account and found a bunch of emails she was sending to her mom that he was telling her, I want to get rid of me. And I need you to come. I need you anytime he do something, I need you to tell me. If he do this wrong, tell me. And we're gonna make a file. And she was going back and forth with her mom. And that's how I found out. And
Who hacked the
he
email?
tried. Oh, we did. We knew her password because we had to go find because what I do, we had to get all her stuff.
That's
No,
toxic
we had
in the
no,
blood.
no, that
You put yourself
that's
in
not
that
toxic.
situation to go searching for.
No, listen, you're not finished. We had to go in because we had business with customers. She quit, so we had to get some stuff because they emailed her, and that's how we found out.
Dang.
That's how we found out.
So is
'Cause we
her
had to
mama
touch
the
the
boss?
email.
Who's the boss?
No, her mom was in Arizona. She was emailing her mom back and forth, telling her mom about what was going on, and that's how we found out.
I believe that, and this is just my own. This is a joy belief. I call them joyisms, right?
I like that.
Yes, I seen those. I seen those. I seen those.
I believe that no matter what happens, no matter people's behaviors, no matter what, we are where we're supposed to be. There's a
Oh,
reason
right.
you're still there. There's a reason for you to be there, whether that's to learn your toxic ways or for you to get your next level. But like if it was meant for you to be somewhere else, no matter what somebody else's demise is, then you're gonna be wherever you're supposed to be. You're wherever you are there to learn something. Like there's a lesson in every situation. You're there to learn something. But I think you learned today that you got some toxic traits too.
Oh no, I agree with you 100% because I done had 4 other different job offers,
And
I
we
still didn't take them.
all do.
I had 4 different job offers. I didn't take none of them because I felt like if I leave the situation, I won't get my way, and I get.
Are you spoiled, DT? You are sounding really freaking spoiled.
Ego.
At work, I am. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. At work, yes.
No. If at work you are, then that sounds like outside of work you are. That you get your way.
I know I get my way, but I mean, no.
Okay.
This ain't about me.
Go
This
there.
ain't about me.
He's like, get this comment off me. DT, what's our question?
Oh no. We about to wrap this up because we had the mark.
I was saving you.
We at the mark
I'm good.
already.
Already.
Yeah,
We just getting started. We just getting warmed up. What the heck?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah,
Right.
we go definitely do another show because I really enjoyed this, ladies, and y'all. I know I'm a little toxic. We all toxic. We all got toxic traits in them.
I don't want to say that we are all toxic, but we all have traits that we can work on.
That was that trait. That wasn't me. Toxic traits. No, we're not. I'm not
toxic traits.
That's toxic.
Okay.
That's toxic.
I don't think I got too many toxic traits. And the only reason why I say that is because I've been like, honestly, that's a real statement. Like, I know it sounds toxic to say you don't got toxic traits, But when you work on yourself for so long through your dope ass journey for so long, you understand so much that, you know what I mean? You're so aware to be not near any toxicity, because toxicity isn't in you. You detox the toxicity throughout your journey. Does that make any sense?
No, I totally understand. And I agree partly with that, right? I believe that we begin to grow at levels, right? Yeah. And so you've gone past the levels that create that type of energy in your life, but that doesn't mean that there still aren't things that we're learning and we're growing through, and some things that may pop up that may not be edifying to you, that may be hurtful to you, or some other choices. We're all a piece of work, right? We're
like
all
those are the tests too.
Yeah, we're all continuously working through these experiences that we get to go through. But anybody that says nothing's wrong with me, right? Or I don't have any toxic traits, just live a little bit longer. Like just go into the next phase of your life and something's going to pop up, and just anything that happens, just live a little longer. Like if you've been blessed to live life this far, like the more life that you live, the more life will begin to life, and it'll teach you certain things, and you have the opportunity to work through them and to grow through them. Just at the phases that you've been through, you've passed all those phases. So now if you feel like you don't have any toxic traits right now, you're just about to go into your next phase where life is going to give you an opportunity to work through some more things.
And going to the next phase, or going to the next frequency of life, in my opinion, maybe I say toxic blockers. Okay. Right?
Okay.
So because, and the only reason why I say that, because right now I feel like I've been on some toxic blocking shit that I've been going through lately, because I smoke weed and I'm on day 12 with no cannabis, right? So I just feel like I've been toxic blocking like a motherfucker. You feel me? And it's really, what'd you say, love?
I say congratulations.
Thank you. And it was just, I don't know, it was just cold turkey. Okay, I ain't smoking for 30 days. And my son motivates me, Mom. We on day 12. Woo, so I can't stop. So October 31st, fatty. But anyways, the only reason why I say toxic blockers is because there's been a lot of situations that's been popping up that hasn't happened like in a long time, that are toxic. And when I say toxic blockers, I mean by my reaction to what is going on in the situation, right? So when you get to that level, like I'm proud. It took a long time to get to a level of realization, of awareness, of reaction, and how you react to certain things that goes on in your life. And to the point in my life where I'm like, okay, God, let me pop my collar, because I already know. I can't even be mad that somebody hit my car and try to freaking act like it was my fault. All I can do is just laugh, right? Because that's just a test to see if I'm going to go roll up a toxic ass blunt after I've been on this journey for however many days. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by certain toxic blockers, and even people. So I don't have a big circle no more, right? I kick it by myself. I really enjoy myself. Self-love. I really brought self-love because of maybe toxic relationships. I don't want to even deal with certain stuff no more, right? Or maybe relationships that I just wasn't feeling, and I've learned, you feel me, to just be like, ooh, I'm cool. And until I was able to learn that, ooh, I'm cool, I'm going to continue to go through those relationships with different people, right? Until you learn your lesson, you're going to go through that situation again in another few months or whatever. So that's what I'm saying, toxic blockers, because if you don't learn to grow, or you haven't cut that generational curse, you're going to go through that again. And that's why I say I'm not toxic. I be blocking toxic because I know as soon as some toxic poison come my way, now I'm going to kick that glass over and pour it on the ground, because I've already been through, I've seen it, I see it coming. So it cannot distract me or make me feel away anymore, because I've grown so much on a dope ass frequency where a lot of people are not at in life right now, because a lot of people are living in hell. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, they don't have the mental clarity to even allow themselves to vibrate at a high frequency. You feel me? So that's why I say, no, I ain't got no toxic trait. I ain't got no toxic, because I've learned to block every single fucking toxic thing that even try to come my way. And that's how I continue to grow. You feel me? And elevate. So I know, okay, I know when shit start happening, I know that God, my angels, ancestors are elevating me to another level, but they need to see if I'm ready. So they're going to bring this toxic shit around me to see if I know how to handle myself in these situations, or am I going to fall back into a state of the shenanigans that I just grew out of? And if I fall back into the toxic shenanigans that I just grew out of, okay, you ain't ready. You ain't ready for that 7-figure business right now. You got to wait 6 more months because you just toxified that situation. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that. I know we on final statement, but I like.
Yeah.
We just
I don't mean to wrap y'all, but we got less on 4 minutes. So I want to give y'all ladies a quick time to give y'all a final statement. If you can make it quick. Anything you want to give a final statement on, something on your mind?
I think that my final statement that I'm gonna leave with is learn to sit in a posture to receive. Right. And what that is oftentimes what we want, we get so busy and we're not patient and we try to go through the process so fast. We have to stop trying to skip the levels. We have to stop trying to skip the process and learn how to sit in a posture of receiving the thing that you say that you want and attaching to the belief that what you say you want can actually happen for you. So sit in the posture to receive.
I love that.
Great quote. That's amazing.
How about you, Miss Tandy?
I guess my final statement will always be believe in your dopeness. Always believe in your dopeness, and that's in any aspect of life. Just always believe in your dopeness, and always be willing and ready to rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul in the dopest ways possible. Go hug a tree. Go hug a tree and get some dope energy, and don't knock it till you try it.
My final statement gonna be real quick, and I want to say this to all Black men: support your Black queen, because I run into a lot of Black men who's doubting Black women and got critiquing them and got something always negative to say, and think y'all already know what I'm talking about on this. As a Black woman, support her. She's out here for us, and you look at, I don't want to say it, but we know who I'm talking about.
I don't.
Stop doubting your, huh?
Y'all talking about Kamala?
Yes, Kamala. Stop. Don't do that.
I didn't say nothing. Look at you. That's toxic.
No, that's not. No, that's toxic. What you just said. You pronounced the name incorrect.
That wasn't I really didn't mean to do that on purpose. For real.
No, you good. You good. And I just run into a lot of stupidity out there on social media. And it bothers me and burns me up. That's all I got to say on that. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Go through the struggle with the melanated king, and then the melanated king will lead up that melanated woman and dog the crap out of her and go uplift the non-melanated woman and act like holier than thou over there.
That's a whole nother episode.
Can we write that down? Because I would love to chop it up about that one.
Well, I'm gonna wrap it up on here, ladies. I appreciate y'all for being on the show. Thank y'all for this. Was very engaging. I love how we discussed this, and we got other topics we didn't get on, so we'll definitely do it at another time on another show. I look forward to it, ladies, and I appreciate everybody who watched, because we had quite a few viewers watching the show, so I appreciate everybody tuning in. And this is your boy DT. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. You know how to click at the bottom. Follow me. New content. And I'm on a trip this week. I'm heading out to Tokyo, Japan. I'm excited about that.
Have fun.
I'm excited. Leave on Wednesday and don't come back for another week. So thank you, ladies. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, ladies, for being part of the show.
Thank you
so much.
See you next time.
And
nice meeting you, Joy.
Nice meeting you too.
And this is your boy DT. I'm out.
It's DT. You have just now listened to the most talked about podcast in the country. DT Unfiltered Uncensored. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.